Hello, I'm Jorge Briceño, Director of Instructional Television for KLCS. Welcome to Reform the LA Way with Los Angeles Unified School District Board President Monica Garcia. On this episode, a look at how the arts play a major role in the success of our students. We'll be joined later in the program by Roberta Millman, the principal of Lima High School, which stands for Leadership in Entertainment and Media Arts, along with two teachers from the school, Beth Kennedy and Scott Petrie. But first, a chance to talk with Board President Monica Garcia about what's happened this month at the LAUSD. Welcome, Monica.
Thank you.
And so a lot's happened this month in LAUSD, and we'll get to some of those things. But as we've done in the past, I'd like for you to start by reiterating the 5 goals that the board has set.
Absolutely. Our goals and our focus of all our work is 100% graduation, 100% attendance for students and staff, Proficiency Plus for all, engaged parents and communities, and safe schools. These 5 goals really create that vision where every aspect, every piece of work is about achieving those.
And throughout the shows, we've talked about what each one of them means to you and what we're doing as a district to move in that direction. The one I think we haven't really touched on is Proficiency for All. I'd like to understand more. What does that mean through your eyes, through the board? What does Proficiency for All mean?
Well, I think we have a resolution called Proficiency Plus for All, and the board adopted the Proficiency Plus as an idea that we have to have grade level competence from the very beginning. So we pay a lot of attention to 3rd grade reading levels. We know that today 34% of our 3rd graders read at grade level. So that means 2/3 of our kids need help at 3rd grade getting on to grade level. And we believe that if we monitor proficiency and we set Proficiency Plus or proficiency and then advanced, proficiency and extra, but we want to make sure that every child is proficient at 3rd grade, at 5th grade, at 8th grade, all the way to graduation. And what it does is it means we're going to hold ourselves accountable. It means that we don't want to just focus on early ed and forget about high school. We don't want to just focus on middle school, forget about the elementary. We want to build those blocks and we want to monitor achievement. And we know that the development of a child, the aha moment comes in different stages for each of us. We want to just be very conscious, very vigilant. Where are the kids? What can we learn from the people who are having a great deal of achievement? What do we learn about the kids who need that second scoop? And proficiency is about the district being accountable to every child.
And help me understand, how does the reform effort fit into supporting that idea of proficiency?
Well, I think the big piece about behavior and belief system is that we're not saying for some. It's proficiency for all. And so that means every child, regardless of the community, regardless of the program, regardless of the grade level, we want you to be successful. And it's a real commitment from the organization to every child, every family, every community. And it's about making sure that we're moving away from anything that isolates success. Right.
Well, I know we're going to be coming back to this, and I'd be remiss if we didn't touch on something that's happened recently. We didn't have time last year, last month, and I want to make sure we get into it, and that's our budget situation. A lot of news since we last talked, most interestingly of which is the May revise. So I'd like to hear 2 things from you. Number one, what's happening since the May revise? And secondly, does that mean that we're out of the woods now? We've got this windfall of money, or is there still work to be done?
Good question. So what happened, the governor has decided that he's not going to take any more money from education. He's actually taking less from us. So it's not necessarily we're getting more, but the state was going to take $9 billion from schools. They're only taking $6 billion from schools. So, but what that means to us is we could count more money in our budget, which means that Superintendent Nacy is joining superintendents across the state that have been given guidance by the county and the state to add in more money that had previously been deferred. What does that mean to us? Because we have reached a labor deal, an agreement of furlough days with our teachers, with the school police, with our cafeteria workers and our bus drivers. So 5 of our major unions have reached furlough day agreements with the district. We started out asking for 12. We're down to needing 4. We're able to direct the superintendent to bring back or stop the layoffs. So it won't be 100%, but we feel very confident that we're talking about 3,400 teachers, 3,400 teachers. That's a lot of good news, Jorge. We're talking about 1,600 bus drivers, cafeteria workers, teachers' aides, special ed aides. For SEIU, those are a lot of workers. For our principals and assistant principals, 140 positions. Good news. So while we were looking at having a summer of a loss of jobs for 10,000 people, we know that we're at least cutting that in half.
So two quick things. One is what kind of timeline are we looking at? Because obviously that is good news for a lot of people, but the big question is when am I going to find out?
Yeah.
And then secondly, I want to bring it back all to these reform efforts. How does that help or hinder all of this reform that we're trying to do in this district when you've got this budget uncertainty?
Great question. So when will people know? We're hoping that every bargaining unit ratifies by mid-June so that we will be able to turn in a budget to the county. That means we will rescind as opposed to start to rehire. So that means people stay at the schools that they're at by and large. I think the other piece that people need to know is the voices of raising the issues around education to Sacramento, to Washington, the organizing that has gone on, moms and dads and students saying, hey, no more cuts to education. Those have been effective. We have made our voices heard. I think in Los Angeles, we stood together, parents, students, teachers, administrators, our Chamber of Commerce, our United Way, our mayor, the Board of Ed, the superintendent, everybody saying no more cuts. That's very good news, but that still means that we are not fully funded. That still means we didn't get a whole lot more money, and we have to be very vigilant. We have to eliminate waste. We have to cut the bureaucracy wherever we can. And what it means is that we're not done. We're not out of the woods. We are in uncertain territory because the state is looking a little bit better, but we're not there yet. So we all have to hold tight, stay focused. What does it do to help reform? It really stops the bleeding of talent leaving our system. It stops the bleeding from asking teachers to come together, put together these proposals, and then having to release some of them when they have been part of building reform, where they have been part of engaging their colleagues in ways we have not seen. Teacher collaboratives are putting forward amazing, creative, innovative strategies that are helping us increase graduation. So to me, it means that Los Angeles gets more support to do the work we're all committed to doing.
Well, speaking of innovative strategies, we're going to meet 3 people who are doing just that. So when we return, we'll have Principal Roberta Mailman and teachers Scott Petrie and Beth Kennedy, all from the Leadership and Entertainment and Media Arts High School, to discuss the role of arts and creativity in education. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
We're here today to make our community aware of the budget crisis currently being handled by the Los Angeles Unified School District. We're inviting parents so they can get not only just involved, but very well connected in this process.
We've designed it so that it's only a short presentation, and then we break out into groups so that people can feel that they can engage and ask all the questions that they need to, so that they can be very active in really demanding appropriate funding for our schools from our state. This is the beginning of a set of community meetings that we can help the public understand both the state budget situation and how it's affecting LAUSD. And for parents and community members to understand just how badly the state is not investing in public education and its effect on us. And lastly, what we can do about that, both ourselves and to advocate at the state level.
We hope to see parents and various stakeholders, community come out to have an opportunity to learn about our budget crisis in the district and the state, and have an opportunity to get together in small groups to ask questions, share information, and to give their input, and really to provide clarification on where we are as a district and how we hope to move forward in the future.
today we are celebrating our Music Center Bravo Award, our Inclusive School Award, and becoming a LAUSD Arts Banner School. And we also celebrated 10 of our students that had perfect 600 on the Math CST last year. Well, for the Bravo Award, we were nominated, and then we had to write a very intensive application. There were judges from the Music Center that came out and spent the entire day at our school to look at our visual arts and theater and music and dance programs. They saw our specialists, but they especially were very impressed with our classroom teachers that worked so hard to integrate the arts. I'm just very proud to be the principal here and to have the support of the district and all the people that come together to do great things for our kids.
Welcome back to Reform the LA Way. Joining us now are Principal Roberta Mailman and teacher Scott Petrie and Beth Kennedy, all from Lima High School. And Lima stands for Leadership in Entertainment and Media Arts. And they're here to discuss the importance of their school's focus and how it benefits student achievement. Welcome all.
Thank you.
Principal Mailman, I'd like to start with you. Can you give us a little bit of background on your school? And in particularly, I'm very interested, how does leadership in entertainment and media arts come together, and how did your school come to be?
Our school was one of the first pilot school reforms. We were on the second tier of the pilot schools, and we were a teacher-initiated pilot school. Mm-hmm. And leadership in entertainment and media art brought together all the fields that our teachers were interested in, and so they found a way to write to incorporate all different fields. We have 3 strands. You can major in leadership, you can major in filmmaking, and you can major in graphic design, digital imaging, game design. So that's how we came to be.
And Ms. Kennedy, I know that when before the show we were talking a little bit, you had a big hand in putting this together. How did the combination of these 3 come to be? How was it student input? Was it teachers? That was their affinity? How did you decide on leadership in media art?
Well, we were actually fortunate. A number of the people who worked in a small learning community at our former school had entertainment background. I worked at Universal. Mr. Petrie worked at Disney. Another teacher worked at Sony. 2 other teachers worked in the online and internet businesses. And when we looked at what the East Los Angeles community was lacking, there was no school devoted to the entertainment arts sort of behind the camera and on production. There were a lot of performing arts schools, but no one really devoted to the business side.
Scott, you were part of the design team also, right?
Yes.
Talk about your experience.
Well, what I noticed is that our students are really into media. And they spend a lot of time on screens, either Facebook and MySpace or YouTube. And what we really wanted to do is give them an opportunity to learn what it's like to create that content, because it's not as easy as it looks. And so in my world history class, they spend the whole first year learning how to just do audio production. And I have them for a year practicing doing radio broadcasts, making commercials, interviewing people live from the past. And then the next year, after that, the next year they get to add the video camera, and then they try and become on-air talent or produce a show like this. So it's a way to get what the students are innately interested in and force them to learn, trick them into learning.
What have you learned about tricking the students into learning? Has it been successful?
So yes, I have a great video game application that the students play on the interactive whiteboard, where they actually get to practice their world history vocabulary. And there's a shoot 'em up game, and there's a matching game, and I bracket them like an NCAA championship where they compete against each other for the best scores and the best times. And you see a lot more student engagement in a classroom like that, particularly with boys.
That's
well,
awesome.
You also did a really interesting application using tweets and had kids do, we have a very low homework return. But when they were designing a tweet, which, you know, is 144 characters from the beaches at Omaha, you had like a 90%,
yes.
right?
Yeah. That was an assignment where they had to send a 140-character message in from the beaches of Normandy on what was going on, and they actually read the text, and they actually got the information, and they wanted to do, and they're again, tapping into that competition that students have with each other, and getting them to compete about being good at school, I think is all a good thing.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So you are a pilot school, and you are round one of public school choice. Tell us about the experience of teachers leading this work.
Well, I have to say, I think it's the only thing that ultimately works. Teachers really know their profession. We are among the most highly educated group of professionals. All of our teachers have dual credentials and master's degrees. Some of us have doctorates, and some of us are still working on them. But we also know our students. And when you talk about what succeeds in education, it's all about personalization and tailoring education for the people who are in your room. And they, in fact, are our customers. And they call the shots. So if something's not working, it's not because of the students. It's because we haven't found a way to address them. And I think that's ultimately what will be successful.
Wow.
But let me ask Beth, because you were at the school when you were at Lincoln before Lima was actually born. And we discussed a little bit about the fact that it still seems that folks don't entirely understand what a pilot is and how it differs from the school. Would you mind just addressing a little bit more? You were there when it was, it was just Lincoln, and now you're Lima, still on the same campus, I believe. How does it differ? How does somebody at home understand the difference between where you were and where you're at now?
Well, there's several different levels. For the teachers, we are still LAUSD/UTLA members. We belong to the union. We work under a different contract, and in fact, we have a contract with our school, which requires us to honor the proposal that was submitted. For many parents who are looking for charter schools as the solution, I think, and have heard people say, pilot schools are LAUSD's answer to charter. But I think from a student's point of view, what we are responsive to our customers, and we are a small school, so we cannot go more than 450 students. We are fortunate this year that we are a beneficiary of the KIA fund, so we have very small classes, 27
is the maximum.
For 9th grade, 25 for 10th grade, 27 for 11th and 12th grade, and 36 for electives. And that provides a teacher a great way of meeting students one-on-one. And we also have students and parents and community members on our board of directors, and they make decisions about autonomies that pilot schools have, one of which is budget. So we as a school decided all of our money, or the majority of our money, would go into the classroom. So we have the maximum number of teachers we could afford. We have the maximum number of teaching assistants that we could afford. We bought technology. Those are our priorities, and we sort of match our words with actions.
And you can talk to our students, and they notice the difference because the teachers are working in concert. Whenever there's a parent that wants to talk to the teacher, all the teachers meet with that parent. And for example, in the 9th grade, there are only 2 9th grade English teachers. So even if it's a 9th grade student, they both know them. They know all of them. They know all of the 9th grade students and probably most of the other students. Because there's only 340 students this year, I know most of the students by name. It's
hard to do in a much larger
exactly. I was really looking forward to it, and I've been really excited by being able to know my students, and they're excited to know who we are.
Speaking of students, Monica and I were talking a little bit when she introduced your school, and she said that one thing she found really unique about your school is the way that your students are involved both in the governance of the school and in the evaluation process. Could you share a little bit about that? I
think I'm going to let Scott answer that because the leadership students formulated the teacher evaluation survey, and they researched it, didn't they?
That's a group of 10th, 11th, and 12th graders. and it's an elective class. They do all the extracurricular activities for the school and run the school elections and things like that. And they were very interested in designing an evaluation, a survey that they could give to every student, would evaluate every teacher. And in the fall we had almost 2,000 evaluations done on our teachers, and the overwhelming majority were positive and above average, but the students created the questions, and they had 15 questions, and then there's 2 spaces where students can type in advice. What would you like the teacher to change? And I think a lot of teachers, and myself included, really took a look at what the students said and tried to work that into our routines, because the students are our customers. And I think when the students recognize that you're listening to them, they're more apt to do work for you.
We heard from a student today that said they were thoughtful about how to evaluate the teacher because they experienced the teacher being thoughtful about his own grading. I thought that was very high quality thinking around the evaluation. And they also said, well, they did say my teachers were excellent. And they said they felt a lot of respect in being able to offer feedback, and that one of the teachers put it up on the board and said,
We all did.
oh, talk
We
about
all
that.
did. I mean, I give them grades and I post their grades up every week, and I also post the summary at each week's period. And so when I got my evaluation, I posted what my students said about me, and then I went through all of the comments with them. And some of them were like, could you make the deadlines clearer? And so I now have a color coding system, so it shows what's coming up and what's due today. And some of it was, can you be less strict? And of course I said, you know, I understand that, but this is an advanced placement class. I'm not going to be less strict. Can you make brownies more often? Yeah, that was an easy one.
What does that say about the trust on the campus to be able to do something like that?
Right. I think since the beginning of the year, the trust has really grown as the students recognized the amount of responsibility that they were able to take on. I've really noticed a change in a lot of the students, and I believe a lot of the staff has. So trust is something that grows over time, and there's been a tremendous growth this year.
And we try and match
absolutely
our actions to our words. So if we tell them, if you don't like something, let us know. If it doesn't work for you, let us know. And then we're responsive to them. I mean, isn't that what we all want as people?
Right. How do you know this is working for those kids?
Well, we have kids. We know, I mean, some of our kids, I sat in a conference where father said, well, I'm going to send him back to Mexico if he doesn't succeed here. And he has, since he worked at the, for Pantalayan, the studio that we work with in the music center, and they loved him so much he did a double shift for them. And he's really working hard to improve his grades so that he can do an internship with them. We have another student who said that he didn't think he would have graduated had he stayed at Lincoln, and I have to say, even an administrator at Lincoln said, wow, he's completely different. You were so good for him. We've really brought, we have not had 100% success yet. Certainly that's our goal, but because we know our students and we talk to our students, we don't just say, they come into my office. They just come in to talk to me. And I don't turn them away. My door is always open. And they know that. Yeah. And because we're going to be with them from start to finish, it's a palpable difference. You can feel the difference when you come on our campus.
Yeah. Do other students that are not on in your pilot school, do they get that? 'Cause I know we were talking about the fact that you have to recruit. I mean, you have to actively let students know what you're offering and have them choose you. They don't just get assigned. Does that make a difference to them? Do they understand it? Do they tell their peers? And is that helpful in the recruiting process?
Well, we've seen it this year. Like siblings are coming in from charter schools and from other private schools have started saying, well, I'm going to get my friends who go to this other school, and I'm getting my siblings, and the parents go, yeah, I want my kids to come here now. So yeah, and even yeah, students from the neighborhood are beginning to know about us and want to come and see what's going on and want to come. So yeah, there is word of mouth that's going out, and it's positive.
But I
We're
don't
getting a lot of
think
interest.
that the people in the community really understand the kind of jobs that are available in the entertainment industry. I think most people are familiar with actors and writers and directors and the kind of people who get profiled on Entertainment Tonight, but you rarely see a story about a grip or a best boy or an electrician or a greensman or a, you know, craft services person. And I think most people are not familiar with the fact that there are 42 guilds and unions in the studio world, and many, many more in independent production, in commercial production, in internet and media production now. And I think that that's part of our challenge, is to really convey the kind of breadth of jobs that are available. And one of the things I know that Ms. Garcia has said about LAUSD is we want to prepare all students for college. And we are committed to that goal. But that includes a number of jobs like cinematographers, editing, music composers.
Yeah. And we say college ready, career prepared, right?
Exactly.
And I think one of the themes we've heard here is we know our students, we're focused on their success, and we're working together. And I'm so grateful to you for your courage and your leadership and your passion, and it's wonderful. I think everybody should come visit Lima. They're on the Lincoln campus. It's great.
Put it on
Thank
my
you.
calendar.
Thank you very much. Thank
You're
you,
all
Jorge.
welcome.
Thank you, Principal Mayman, Mr. Petrie, Ms. Kennedy. Thank you all. And thank you again for joining us. The arts and education go hand in hand. If you want to learn more about the reforms taking place in LAUSD or to contact me, visit lausd.net. As we continue to create the best educational opportunities for our students, it requires all of us to do our part. I'm Monica Garcia. Together we will reform education. We will reach 100% graduation.